The Me Too movement has progressed even farther, now touching the lives of animals. That's right. A leftist college student has compared milking cows to rape and sexual abuse. Also, a pro-life movie is being sent to every abortion clinic in America. And in the world of Hollywood, Liam's Hemsworth and Miley Cyrus have a nasty, nasty breakup. All that and more on Deconstructing the Culture. I am your host, Lisa Steele. Hey there, Conservative Babes tribe. I often get asked, and if you have heard me answer this question before, then this won't be news to you, but I'm often asked, what does conservative babes mean? What is the S, the plural in conservative babes? That's me and you. And everyone else who's part of this community, whether you're part of the podcasting community or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or all of the above, then you're a mega conservative babe. That means me and you. That's what this is. Conservative young people, whether it's younger at heart or young in age. It's those of us who are passionate and willing to do whatever it takes to save the unborn, protect our borders, protect our right to freedom of speech and religion and right to protect ourselves. We're here to protect our Constitution and push forward with a vision of America that the Founding Fathers had. So there you go. For those of you who might be new to this community, that's what that means. And also I want a huge thank you to y'all. I have on iTunes, I have 90 reviews. So thank you so much. That's huge to me. Please help me get to 100 reviews by this time next week. I would love to see that 100 review mark hit. So please go ahead, click 5 stars. If you have a second, leave a couple of words. I always read the reviews. I love to share them on Instagram. And it just really helps the community keep going because it is positive reviews that helps with the ranking in iTunes. And it just helps this podcast grow. So thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. So something that I'm very excited about, and if you remember, I talked incessantly about the movie Unplanned when it was coming out because I was so excited and still am so excited about what this is doing for the pro-life movement. Well, in Unplanned news, the Unplanned movie officially came out on DVD. So for those of you who didn't have a theater near you and you weren't able to see it in theater, or maybe it just didn't work out with the timing and you weren't able to go see it in theaters when it was, now is your time. Go on Amazon. It's ranking number 1 on Amazon last time I checked. The Unplanned movie is, which is amazing. Amazon is a huge retailer. It's in Walmart. It's all over. So you have no excuse. Go get your copy, even if you already saw it in theaters. And maybe you're like me and it's not something maybe you'd watch every night because it leaves you with a deep emotional toll on your heart. It is something that needs to be shared. So share it with your friends and family who maybe weren't willing to go to theaters and watch it there. Share it with your pro-abortion friends and maybe just introduce it as be like, hey, this is a movie about a Planned Parenthood director and it doesn't villainize people who are pro-abortion, and maybe just frame it that way and see if maybe they might be open to it. Sweeten the deal, make some popcorn or some dinner, or just loan it out to a friend, even if you never expect to get the movie back. Hopefully by sharing that with a friend or a neighbor or your community, maybe invite some people over to watch it. All I'm saying is this is a powerful tool for the pro-life movement. And so many times, I get this question almost daily. People ask me, Elisa, what do I do for the pro-life movement? What can I do? There's not a Planned Parenthood clinic near me, which is shocking, but in some states, they're actually getting harder to find, which is amazing. So maybe you're just like, what do I do? Or maybe my schedule is crazy busy and I work, 6 jobs and I can't go find time to volunteer at a clinic. Well, this is what you can do. If you're wondering what can I do for the pro-life movement, this is a good starting place. Share the movement in a really palatable way, especially for those who maybe don't 100% side with you. And people who are already pro-life, share with them too, because that will hopefully deepen their testimony and their understanding of abortion and why it's so important that we have this conversation in every home in America and across the world. So if you want to know what you can do to help, that is where you can start. Something that's really exciting. And also for those of you who maybe are really new to following me, briefly, the story of Unplanned, it's an account of former Planned Parenthood superstar Abby Johnson. For 8 years, she rose from college volunteer to one of the youngest clinic directors, then employee of the year. And then one day she assisted with an abortion, and it completely changed her world. She saw an ultrasound guided abortion, which are not super common. She saw one for the very first time, and it completely flipped everything in a second for her. And from there, she went from the most aggressive, or one of the most aggressive advocates of abortion to, no, I wouldn't say that. It's difficult. You'd have to really watch the movie to understand. I don't want to go so far as to say that, but let's just say she was a director. That tells you where she was at in her mind frame of abortion in Planned Parenthood and supporting that. She thought it was a woman's right to choose, and it completely flipped. And then she became an advocate for the pro-life side, which is incredible. And that's how she is today. She has changed so many lives. In fact, she started an organization called And Then There Were None. And it's a ministry that's helped over 525 abortion workers leave their jobs in abortion clinics. And now, as part of their further outreach with this incredible film, they are sending copies of this film to every abortion clinic in the nation. And that's around 800 of them, which I find to be absolutely mind-bogglingly amazing that we have this tool like no other tool we've ever had before, I feel like, in media format that might change some hearts and might change some lives, because she has an incredible story, an incredible testimony. All right, so let's talk about milking cows. Little background on me. I was raised on a kind of untraditional farm. My family, well, we're not traditionally farmers, I guess, but we moved to the country when I was young. And we raised golden retrievers professionally for many years. And, they're beautiful, beautiful dogs, beautiful breed. And we had these beautiful state-of-the-art facilities for them and heated floors and, trainers who came in and trained them. And so it was beautiful. It was a great experience in my young life. It helped me to learn a lot about animals, a lot about responsibility as a young person. It was a lot of work, worked in the family business for a few years. Another part of that too is, and this is good, this topic's gonna make some of you uncomfortable, okay? But being on a farm, and those of you who are familiar with animal husbandry or farm life are gonna understand exactly what I'm saying right now. Those of you who might be a little more city folk, maybe you won't understand this, but try and bear with me. Living on a farm, like, I don't know, living on kind of a farm or just having animals around really familiarizes you with the birds and the bees at a young age. And it's not glorified and it's not something that you really care about. It's just a fact of life. Babies are born, whether that's baby chickens or baby dogs or small animals are born, and you know exactly how. There's no mystery shrouding how the baby gets there. It's very just usual, I'd go and I'd see, and not to get too descriptive, this feels weird to talk about, but when dogs mate, they mate and then get stuck for a while, between 5 and 15 minutes, they'll get stuck, and it's nature's way of essentially ensuring that there's a higher likelihood of that female actually getting pregnant. So it's gonna, your dogs are gonna look really uncomfortable, and not super having a lot of fun while they're stuck together for a few minutes. First time I saw that was probably like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. And of course I asked my mom, why are the dogs stuck together? What is this? And of course she explained it in a very matter of fact, oh yeah, this is just a part of life. Yeah, so that kind of has been my attitude towards sex most of my life growing up, is just, yeah, it's just part of life. There's nothing glorified or gross about it or exciting about it. It's just life. That's just what it is. And that's part of the mentality of coming from kind of like a farm-like background. So with that said, that's just kind of laying the groundwork for my understanding of animals and the animal kingdom in this particular article. So a journal published by New York University Gender Studies Department recently put out a paper meant to call attention to the, quote, sexual exploitation, unquote, of dairy cows. The author urges that in order to be a true advocate for feminism, one must consider a dairy cow's reproductive rights. So first of all, I just want to say, I don't think that animals have reproductive rights. It's just the call of nature. And if you've seen dogs or animals mate before, you know it's not like all fun. It's just a hard, intense drive that they have, and it's nature's call. And honestly, half the time it doesn't look like they're having that much fun. Like seriously, if you've seen a female, even just watching nature documentaries, that's enough to give you an idea of frequently the female's either running away or growling at or trying to get away from the male, because that's just part of nature, and it's designed that way on purpose, whether that's just to see, may the best male win and be able to pass on the stronger genetics. I mean, I'm being super vague right now because I'm just kind of blandly applying this to most of the animal kingdom. Obviously, it's slightly different in every different species. But as a general rule, I don't know that there's such a thing as animal reproductive rights, as this article would say. So let's continue on. Specifically, the author compares cattle insemination to rape and the milking of cows to sexual abuse. So if she's going to call cows getting pregnant rape, then all of animals getting pregnant you could call rape. It's just nature. There's no consent form or treaty or marriage or conversation that animals have with each other. It's nature. Anyway, she says, so the title of her paper is called Ridding the Rape Rack, Feminism and the Exploitation of the Non-Human Reproductive System. The paper says, if women do not choose to become mothers, they are shamed. If a female cow is incapable of successfully bearing a calf, they are sent away for slaughter. Their reproductive system is useless, and therefore, as being, they are useless. Okay, dear, let's pause here for a second. So first of all, women who choose not to become mothers, no, they're not shamed. It very largely depends on your culture, but in Western culture, they're not shamed. It's not uncommon for a lot of women to choose not to have children. Now, do I personally, as a Christian, feel like that is necessarily the best path to just choose never to have children, especially, let's just say, in a married relationship? There's definitely some controversy on that. God did say to multiply, be fruitful and multiply the earth. But then on the other hand, women who can't have children, they're definitely not shamed. And also, the deepest flaw here is you cannot be comparing humans, sentient beings, to animals, which are here for the use of humans, literally. And that cow, whether she can have a calf or not, is being useful to humans, whether that's providing milk because she can have a calf, or whether that's going to the slaughterhouse and then being eaten as fuel for human beings. She's also being very useful there, that cow. So you can't compare the two. When human beings can't produce children, we don't eat them. They continue to live because they are God's creations. We are made in God's image. It is not the same for cows. Cows are not made in God's image. They're here for our use, and whether that's to be milked or to be eaten, that is okay either way. Yes, I believe in treating animals humanely and not putting them through unnecessary pain or brutalization, but they are here to be used by humans. So anyways, she continues arguing that there's a double standard, as a civilized society would cringe at the thought of murdering women once they become infertile. Again, we don't do that. And the reason why we would cringe at human women being killed if they're infertile and not cows is because human beings, again, are made in God's image and cows are not. So it's not the same. It's comparing completely different specimens, one who is a sentient human being and the other is an animal meant to be used for that sentient human being's best interests. The paper goes on, the outdated stereotype about women being caretakers, most importantly childbearers, remains consistent in the dairy industry, especially when we take into account the means with which these animals are exploited. A few brief examples include rape or sexual assault, non-consensual hormone treatments, and the emotional trauma related to pregnancy. Dairy cows are forcibly impregnated or raped in order to constantly produce milk for humans to consume. So there's a couple different points here. The outdated stereotype of women being caretakers and childbearers, let's just set the cows aside for a second. That's a stereotype and a reality. Can men make babies? Can they grow them in their bodies? No. So of course that's there. It's not just a stereotype, it's a fact of life. And being caretakers, yeah, I know some stay-at-home dads who are phenomenal stay-at-home dads, but as successful as that is, it is not necessarily the rule, rather it's the exception. And there's nothing wrong with that. When a woman spends 9 months producing and growing a child within her, and then has the natural maternal instincts to care for that child whom she just grew from her body, and then oftentimes feeds from her body, that's not bad. That's good. And squashing those instincts and calling them bad because it's not exactly the same as men is counterproductive to reality, and also to what oftentimes is really great for mother and child. And as far as animals go, yeah, duh, because it's the same in the animal kingdom. It's the moms who grow the children and then usually feed the children, depending on if you're a mammal or not. Forcibly impregnated, again, it's just complete. Yeah, that's ridiculous if you know anything about animals. She continues, the dairy industry is a host for sex-based discrimination. It's a site where sexual assault and objectification based on biological makeup are highly prevalent but ignored as we choose to neglect non-humans with whom we share a planet. We're not neglecting them. I mean, yeah, there are cases of neglect, but what you're describing, where you take a female cow, the only, gender of cow that can produce milk, and use that animal for a human's benefit, that's not wrong. And it's not neglect. It's fact of life, and they're there to serve God's children, the ones made in his image. The author concludes, while we fight against the sexual abuse of women, why are we still allowing the same treatment to be thrust upon other living bodies when there are more sustainable ways to live that do not include harming millions of female bodies? Female bodies. Now, you're being very vague about that. Does that mean a female slug or a female cow? A female human? Huge differences there. You can't just say we're abusing and harming millions of female bodies, quote, female bodies. Be more specific, because there's a very big difference between a female body of a wasp, female body of a cow, and a female body of a human being. Very big difference. And trust me, all lives are not equally valuable. And that's really what it comes down to, is much of the left has embraced this agenda that all life is equally valuable. The life of a rat, the life of a human, the life of a wasp, or the life of anything living. And we're all equally valuable. We're all life. But if you're a Christian and you believe in biblical principles, then you know that God made humans different than all other life. And no, we're not all equal. That's kind of as simple as that. It's throwing out biblical principles to embrace this idea that all life is equal. And all life is simply not equal. She continues, with simple lifestyle changes that promote reproductive justice towards animals available to many, why are we picking and choosing which pots of capitalism, sexism, and patriarchy to stir when we could dismantle it all? Oh, honey, if only you knew what that world would really look like. It's about as successful as socialism, which is to say not at all. All right, now let's talk about Hollywood. Now, this article, I want to preface it before I continue, because Liam Hemsworth and Miley Cyrus, they've had an off and on relationship as far as I understand. I don't follow Hollywood super closely, but some of it you just can't avoid. You see the newspapers and the magazines all the time. Now, I guess they've had like this on and off relationship for like 10 years, and it's been kind of dysfunctional the whole time as far as I can tell. Well, they decided to get married after a long time of like back and forth breakups. They decided to get married a while back. I think like a couple years ago, and now they're having a really nasty breakup or divorce that is coming forward this year. Now, while I'm not surprised at this, it is sad. I'm not trying to make light of the fact that their marriage is ending. It really doesn't surprise me, because this does seem to be Hollywood culture, but it doesn't make it any less sad for a union between a man and a woman and a marriage to end. It's hard really to call. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too judgmental and say that their marriage wasn't a marriage, because in my mind, marriage is a religious institution, whether it's, it doesn't matter where you have it or who it is, as long as it's a marriage in the eyes of God, which is between one man and one woman, and proclaiming, to God that you're coming into this institution. So what society calls marriage and what we as Christians call marriage is a little different. But regardless, it is sad. I'm just going to say it's sad. I don't know what their marriage looked like. So from TMZ, and this is from Daily Wire. Says, it started out amicable, but then the breakup between Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth is now in nasty territory, with claims of drug abuse and infidelity. Sources on both sides told TMZ two different stories as to what caused the couple to split. While Miley claims that she tried valiantly to save the marriage in the face of Liam's alleged drug abuse, the Australian actor is calling the claim a total fabrication, alleging that Miley cheated on him. This is just my opinion. I know nothing about these people other than what I glimpse in the news, but I wouldn't be surprised if both of those allegations are true to an extent. It's the culture that they're in, and then also there have been some interesting other media appearances from Miley Cyrus that have kind of made you question where she's at, even looking at their marriage. If you look over, some sources, according to TMZ, have said this is another attempt by Miley to distract from her infidelity and recent outrageous public behavior. While Miley's claim that she tried to valiantly save the marriage may indeed be factual, her actions and past comments have not helped support the claim. For instance, in her recent interview with Elle magazine from August issue, the pop icon even referred to her marriage as unique and complex, while admitting that she feels a sexual attraction towards women despite being in a hetero relationship. Pause there. Warning sign, you're in a marriage. It doesn't matter whether you're saying you feel attractions towards other women or other men. When you're in a committed marriage, you don't go into public or at all and tell people, oh yeah, I'm attracted to other women. I'm attracted to other men. No, that's planting the seeds in your mind of adultery. It's not healthy. And saying that out loud kind of shows some warning signs, to be very candid. She says, I think it's very confusing to people that I'm married, but my relationship is unique, Cyrus told Elle, and I don't know that I would ever publicly allow people in there because it's so complex and modern and new that I don't think we're in a place where people would get it. So I'm not sure what she's referencing, but it almost kind of sounds like by saying it's modern and new, is she trying to say that they have some kind of open relationship? I don't know, but it doesn't sound healthy. She says, I mean, do people really think I'm at home in a bleeping apron cooking dinner? She continued. I'm in a hetero relationship, but I'm still very sexually attracted to women. People become vegetarian for health reasons, but bacon is still bleeping good, and I know that. I made a partner decision. This is the person I feel has my back the most. I definitely don't fit into the stereotypical wife role. I don't even like that word. Wow, okay, so even before it was official that they split up, she's saying she doesn't even like the wife word. That's like a bad word, wife. Totally scary, because that makes people think about being at home in an apron. Quite frankly, Miley, I, as a wife, enjoy being at home in an apron because good food is delicious, regardless of me making or my husband. And you know what? Being a wife or a husband does sometimes mean cooking food for the other person. It's just a fact of life, and there's nothing shameful about that either. So that's interesting that she would view it in such a horrible way. So apparently, Miley, she fought valiantly to protect this marriage, but was already publicly disrespecting it by sharing with the world that her pansexuality still arouses attraction for other women. Further casting doubt on that claim is the fact that Cyrus was spotted in a photograph kissing Brody Jenner's ex-wife, Caitlyn Carter, while vacationing in Italy. Now, I don't know what your standards, pausing here, I don't know what your standards of cheating or adultery are, but mine include kissing. I mean, the Bible says if you even lust after a woman, you're committing adultery in your heart. I think kissing someone definitely counts. So apparently, this is the last part, and it kind of cracks me up, but gets on my nerves at the same time. It says Liam and Miley have agreed to separate at this time. Ever evolving, changing as partners and life individuals, they've decided it's what's best, that they both focus on themselves and their careers. So first of all, that's kind of a warning sign. In marriage, it's not about you. It's not about focusing on your career or yourself. It's about focusing on the other person. It's about constantly giving and dying into yourself to give to your partner. So it's you can clearly tell that there's obviously some selfishness issues, because you cannot be in a healthy marriage and have a selfish attitude. It doesn't work. And then past that, it says here in ends, they still remain dedicated parents to all of their animals they've shared while lovingly taking this time apart. All right, if you followed me for any amount of time, you know I have a huge pet peeve with people calling themselves pet parents. You are not a dog mom. It doesn't exist. You are not a cat dad or a cat mom. It doesn't exist. The only thing that makes you a parent is having another human being, whether that's by biologically having a child or adopting a child. That's what makes you a parent. Raising another human being, a being made in God's image, but not an animal. So for them to say they're remaining dedicated parents to all the animals they share. No, you have animals. They live with you. You kind of like them. You are not parents. Ugh. Today's culture drives me freaking nuts. I swear. Don't even get me started about people who call themselves dog grandparents. Talk about desperate. You're not a dog grandparent. You're not a grandparent, period, unless you have actual living human being grandchildren. Ugh, whatever. Anyways, now before I continue on to the last couple of segments of the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, find me on iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, YouTube, all the above. It'll be a ball. Oh, make our friendship official on Facebook too. I share a bunch of stuff there, and you don't want to miss Twitter. Twitter is a ball. I'm about ready to go on another Twitter streak where I go on there and light some fires. So let's talk about this week's book. This week's book, I actually read 3 books, kind of powered through them because I could not put these 3 books down. The first book is called A Child Called It. This book freaking broke me. Holy cow. I felt like I couldn't breathe through parts of this first book. And then it was followed up by The Lost Boy, and then ended with the book A Man Named Dave. A Child Called It, the first one, it's a book chronicling the unforgettable account of one of the most severe child abuse cases in California history. It's a story of Dave Pesler, who was brutally beaten and starved by his emotionally unstable alcoholic mother, a mother who played torturous, unpredictable games that left him nearly dead. He had to learn how to play his mother's games in order to survive, because she no longer considered him son, but a slave, and no longer a boy, but an it. I can't even tell you how badly this book broke me emotionally reading it. I don't even have children yet, but I still cannot fathom how anyone could treat their child the way this mother treated her son. I'm going to say a couple of things that happened, but if you can't handle this kind of information, you should just skip forward 30 seconds. And some of the worst ones is she would make him swallow Clorox or bleach, or trap him in a room with Clorox and bleach, which, if you know, can be deadly, or putting his arms in it, which pulled and peeled and burned all of the skin off of his arms, from shoving nasty dirty diapers from his younger brothers in his face and making him try and eat it, to putting his hand in a open flame on a burn. I mean, I'm going to stop right there because I can't. I feel like I'm going to lose it because that book just broke me. But the reason why I bring this up is it's not just a horrible, horrible story, but it's actually a story of redemption. It's a story of hope. It's a story of the human spirit and what it can survive and how it can survive and how it can move past that eventually and find that healing. This story of what this boy went through was so horrendous, and yet I feel like, if anything, especially the later books, The Lost Boy and A Man Named Dave, it helps you understand the foster system better. When he was finally rescued, he went into the foster system. It helps you understand that. It helps you understand also children who are abused and how you can come to them, how you can communicate with them, because it can be so hard to reach them, especially after they have endured as much abuse as Dave did. So definitely recommend, if you can handle it. There's just so much about child abuse that we don't fully understand, and even the foster system that we don't fully understand. I really recommend A Child Called It, The Lost Boy and A Man Named Dave. All right, now for this week, this is really sweet, and I really love this. This is actually our, it's our music and our good in the world. I know, it's doubling. This week's good in the world and music combination, or they're combined this week, and it's this beautiful man, beautiful father. He's a country singer, and he came out with a song about his daughter who has Down syndrome, and it is so sweet. Basically, this father of 3 and a mortgage broker, his name is Tony Griffith, is using his love for country music to raise awareness for children with special needs. Griffith recorded his very first single, 10 by 12, that's the name of the song, 10 by 12, as a tribute to his daughter, Lily, who is diagnosed with Down syndrome. This song describes a beautiful young girl with special needs who faces daily challenges, from bullying to health issues and surgeries. Griffith says the lyrics really spoke to him and his family. He said, "I wanted to share my love for Lily with the world and showcase what families with special needs go through every day." Griffith originally recorded the audio for the song at the Architect recording studio in Norcross. After gaining some momentum, the Nashville Blackbird studio, owned by Martina McBride, produced the single for Griffith for free, which was really amazing. And then this is something I just kind of want to call to our attention while we're on the subject, is according to Live Action, many parents who receive a parental diagnosis of Down syndrome choose to undergo an abortion. In some countries, it's 90% or higher of Down syndrome babies are aborted. Continuing, wrongly believing that people with Down syndrome are suffering, or that as parents they can't handle raising a child with a disability. However, people with Down syndrome and their families overwhelmingly report being happy. Parents tend to divorce less frequently, have high levels of personal fulfillment, and siblings likewise report similarly positive experiences. Yet, negative stereotypes surrounding Down syndrome persist, leading to the continual eugenic abortions. Griffith's song may be a step in the right direction, showing people how wonderful life with an extra chromosome can be. I love this. It's beautiful. It is our loving moment. Actually, another good in the world that I wasn't planning on sharing about, I just want to throw it out there. A couple weeks ago, Antonio Bisco, he lost his wife and only family member in the El Paso massacre, and he didn't have any other family, so he actually made it an open invitation for his wife's funeral. And it's crazy, the turnout Saturday morning when he was saying goodbye to his beautiful wife. I guess her name was Marge Reckyard. Anyways, it wasn't just hundreds, it was thousands. More than 3,000 people paid their respects Friday night at a visitation in El Paso, according to the funeral home, and hundreds are expected to attend the funeral Saturday morning. He says, "It was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen outside the cemetery early Saturday," the husband said. And he said, "I love El Paso and I'm glad to be your family. Thank you very much." He said, "I got the world's largest family." The response to the invitation was so overwhelming that the funeral staff relocated the service to a bigger venue. This is beautiful. This is what community is for. This is the essence of good in the world, of a man who is alone, a man who tragically lost his wife to an act of unspeakable evil during a shooting, and his community, people he doesn't even know. Thousands of people come together to pay their respects and show kindness and support and mourning for someone they never knew and to a man they probably never will know. But that's what community is for. And I love that. That is the good in the world. God bless that man in his grief. God bless the people who showed up there to support him in his time of grief. God bless America. God bless you.